Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. I want to start tafsir, but a little bit left. Inshallah, we'll start in good time. Last week, what did we talk about? If you remember, tools of tafsir. Where do we get tafsir from? What do you need to become a mufassir? We said you need all the preliminary requirements from lughat and nahw and sarf and fiqh and usul fiqh and ilm al-hadith and ilm al-kalam wal-aqaid and ilm al-qirad, ilm al-mawhibat. Then we talked a little bit about tafsir bil-rai. And Mufti Taqi Sahab explained beautifully why one should not do tafsir bil-rai, tafsir of Qur'an based on one's own opinions. Forming an opinion in your mind and fitting the Qur'ani ayat on your opinion. I think it means this, I think it means that. This is a very slippery slope which will take you on the wrong route, wrong track. So avoid tafsir bil-rai. Quran is made easy means those ayat which are not complicated, they are easy to understand. Arabic language, if you know it, you will understand its translation meaning, like Qisaru Suwar, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. You can understand their meanings, easy to understand. But where there is some detailed research needed, like Masla Masail, the Masail in Surah al-Baqarah, regarding nikah and talaq, and regarding bay' and shira and interest, and masail of salat and saum and zakat. If Quran talks about that, then you need that detailed, in-depth study to understand, explain. So if someone just talks generally, we might take their word, but when they delve into masail or some complicated matters, we have to be careful. And we have to take tafsir from reliable mufassirin. And we can't go against their tafsir. We can't jump over their shoulders and leave them behind, go ahead and make up our own meanings of Quran like some people would do. So we now need to know who are the reliable mufassirin of the past. Hazrat Mufti Taqi Usmani Sahab, in this preface and introduction to his father's tafsir, Ma'ariful Qur'an, has mentioned a few. I will just go over them a little bit. Then I will explain Sab'atu Ahruf, and inshallah then we'll start tafsir. The main mufassirin he writes from the earlier ones is Tafsir Ibn Jarir. The real name of this tafsir is Tafsir Jami'ul Bayan. It was compiled by Abu Ja'far Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, died 310 after Hijrah. He is a highly rated commentator, muhaddith, hadith expert, and a historian, mu'arrikh. All three, mufassir, muhaddith, and mu'arrikh. It is said that he kept writing for 40 years continuously and used to write 40 pages every day. Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, volume 11, page 145. 40 pages every day he would write for 40 years continuously. Khopdi yaar, magar dimag hai sab. There are charges of being Shia against him, but researchers have refuted this charge, and the truth of the matter is that he is highly regarded as a scholar of Ahlus Sunnah rather than Ahlus Shia. Sheikh Yunus Sahib used to explain that there are two Ibn Jarirs. There was someone from Shia who named himself Ibn Jarir as well. So he might sometimes try to confuse people. Reality is this Ibn Jarir, the author of the Tafsir and the author of Tarikh al-Umami wal-Muluk, is from Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Here Mufti Taqi Sahib writes that being in 30 volumes, his Tafsir Ibn Jarir al-Tabari enjoys the status of a basic source for later commentaries. In his explanation of the verses, he quotes different scholars and then goes on to prove the position which according to him is weightier. Of course, with arguments and proofs and evidences from Quran and Hadith. It must, however, be admitted that the narrations of all sorts, sound and weak, have found a place in his tafsir. Because of this, not every narration presented by Ibn Jarir can be relied upon. In reality, he was aiming through his commentary to collect and compile all narrations that could become available to him so that this collected material could be put to use later on. Conceded is the fact that he has given the chain of reporters along with each narration, so that whoever wishes to investigate into the chain of narrators could do so and decide for himself if the narration are true or false, strong or weak. This is Ibn Jarir Tabari, one of the earlier and one of the most vast, 30 volumes. And he's done great work, and credit to him, he's done really hard work for tafsir. Second, we go on to Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Hafiz Imaduddin Abu al-Fida Ismail Ibn Kathir al-Dimashqi al-Shafi'i died 774 after Hijrah. A distinguished research scholar of the 8th century, he is the author of this commentary. It has been published in 4 volumes. Here, emphasis has been laid on explanatory narrations. A special feature is his criticism as hadith expert on different narrations. And from this point of view, this book holds a distinct place among all the books of tafsir. And this is over here, Mukhtasar Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Now, Mufassal is with the chains of narrations. Ibn Kathir also narrates with chains of narrations. But because it becomes very long, Ustad Muhammad Ali al-Sabuni shortened it and ikhtisar of it. And you must have heard Sheikh Muhammad Ali al-Sabuni, the great Mufassir, the author, he died just 2 days ago. He was originally from Sham, Dimashq, Halab. He grew up there. He was among the students of Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, rahmatullah alayhi, if I remember correctly. And he used to reside in Makkah Mukarramah for a large portion of his life. But then he had to run around from one place to another in order to avoid the zulm and oppression of the rulers and tyrants. So he finally ended up in Turkey. So his last years of his life he spent in Turkey. And he died in Turkey. And you must have seen the video. His janazah was prayed in Masjid Sultan Muhammad al-Fatih. And it was such a large janazah that they have not seen such a large janazah recently. Oh, many ulama and scholars and politicians and Tayyib Erdogan Saab and everybody was there. So such a huge personality, he is the one who authored this or shortened this tafsir of Ibn Kathir, and I have used it throughout my life. I've referred to this, and I am indebted to Ibn Kathir and to Ustad Muhammad Ali al-Sabuni. I can be classed as his student because I benefited from his tafsir. And he makes it short, concise, quickly, fatafat. We want to read fatafat, flick through, fast speed. So he made this job easy for us. Although there are very nice fawaid and good points in the original Ibn Kathir as well. I've seen that as well. But this is short, brief, to the point, and it makes our job a lot easy for us. And Ibn Kathir, because he died in the 774 after Hijrah, he's got the other tafasir in front of him. Like he's got Ibn Jarir Tabari in front of him, Tafsir Qurtubi in front of him, and the other tafasir as well, Tafsir Razi as well. He takes from here and there as well. Mainly he takes from Ibn Jarir. And one thing is, he is a student of Allama Ibn Taymiyyah. So there is a little bit of differences with him with regards to aqaid. When sifat come, then Ibn Jarir leans towards the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah in sifat. And there we quote from Ibn Kathir as well, his opinion as well, and from the other scholars of Qurtubi and those who are from Ash'ira, we quote their opinion as well. So this is one thing we need to keep in mind with regards to Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Then, so we've done two tafsirs, Ibn Jarir, Ibn Kathir, Tafsir Qurtubi. Its full name is al-Jami' li Ahkam al-Qur'an. It was written by the famous learned writer and researcher, the scholar of Andalusia, Spain, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Abi Bakr ibn Farah al-Qurtubi, died 671 after Hijrah. He was a follower of the Maliki school of fiqh and was well known all over for his ibadah, worship, and piety, taqwa. The fact is that the basic objective of this book is to deduce juristic injunctions and rulings from the Qurani ayat. Yet while doing so, he has also provided the explanation of the verses, research into difficult words, discussion of diacritical marks, and elegance of style and composition, and related traditions and reports in his tafsir, and quite aptly so. This book is in 12 volumes and has been published repeatedly. And Qurtubi is from Spain. You must have heard of Cordoba. So Cordoba is the English name from Qurtaba of Arabic name. And there was a time when the University of Cordoba was the center of education, center of learning. People from here, England and France, used to go to study there. There was Ibn Rushd and others over there who were at the peak, and they were, into scientific researches. So on one side, we had those scientists on the worldly side, and on the other side, we had our ulama and mufassirin and muhaddithin. Many great mufassirin, muhaddithin came from Andalusia, Spain. And when the enemies, the Orthodox Christians, took over, they destroyed so many books written by scholars that, they threw away so many books that it filled the rivers. The rivers' water stopped because of the amount of books that were thrown into the rivers. But alhamdulillah, still so much was saved, and that is from where they went on to their researches. Europe was in its dark ages when Spain was at its peak and highest. And when they drove Muslims out of Spain, since then, Spain has not progressed. Spain has no position in the society since Muslims were deserted from there. Maybe Allah saw on the bad-du'as of those Muslims who were killed and murdered mercilessly. That is what had put it down. There's only holiday resorts there. Otherwise, no technology, no movements, no progress in the country since Muslims were removed from there. So Qurtubi was there at that time when Spain was on its peak, at its peak. He died in the year 671 after Hijrah. And soon after that, the revolutions came and Muslims were, moved away from there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive the Muslims of the time, elevate the ranks of the Shuhada Kiram, and reward them for their patience and sabr. This kitab of Tafsir Qurtubi, Imam Qurtubi, is amazing. Very beautiful. He brings lots of nice points in there, especially with regards to Masail and Ahkam. And our ulama, Mufti Shafi Sahab and Maulana Idris Kandalvi Sahab, take a lot of Masail from there. And his tahqiq is unique. He goes deep into Masail. And in many Masail, Maliki and Hanafi are same. So he supports the Maliki and the Hanafi view. And Shafi and Hanabila are on the other side. So it is good, source of information and for us, Hanafiya as well. So this is Tafsir Ibn Kathir and Tafsir Qurtubi. Three tafsirs because Tabari, Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi. Now moving on to number 4, Tafsir al-Kabir. This is the work of Imam Fakhruddin Razi, died 606 after Hijrah. So he is before Qurtubi and before Ibn Kathir. 606 after Hijrah, Fakhruddin al-Razi. The real name of this tafsir is Mafatihul Ghaib, but is popularly known as al-Tafsir al-Kabir. Imam Razi is an imam of theology of Islam, meaning falsafa. Therefore, great emphasis has been laid in his tafsir on rational and scholastic debates and on refutation of false sects. But the truth is that this tafsir is in its own way a unique key to the Qur'an as well. Furthermore, the pleasing way in which the meanings of the Qur'an have been clarified and the mutual link of the Quranic verses established is all too praiseworthy. Most likely Imam Razi himself wrote down his tafsir as far as Surah al-Fath. Onwards from there, he could not complete, so the remaining part of the tafsir from Surah al-Fath to the end was completed by Qadi Shihabuddin ibn Khalil al-Khawli al-Dimashqi, died 639 after Hijrah, or Sheikh Najmuddin Ahmad ibn Muhammad al-Qamuli, died 77 after Hijrah, Kashful Dhunun, volume 2, page 477. Imam Razi has particularly emphasized scholastic debates and the refutation of false sects in accordance with the dictates of his time. And while doing so, his discussions have become too lengthy at several places. Therefore, some people have made the following comment on his tafsir: "Fihi kullu shay'in illa tafsir." There is everything in this book except for tafsir. Meaning he goes too far away into details, he drifts away from the tafsir. However, this comment is a terrible injustice to Tafsir al-Kabir. That which is the truth has already been stated above, namely that this tafsir enjoys a high rating as far as the resolution of the meanings of Qur'an is concerned. But there are places where he has explained verses of the Qur'an while moving away from the consensus of the Ummah. However, such places are very thinly spread out in his book that goes on to 8 large volumes. This is Tafsir al-Kabir or Imam Fakhruddin Razi rahmatullahi alayhi. And I have studied it from places. I don't have a copy of it myself, but sometimes I look at it on the internet, because on Google and on Shamila you can Google them and find them. So we can take it from there, alhamdulillah. Now, there are many beautiful points in there. Many times what happens is Hazrat Maulana Idris Kandalwi in his Ma'arif al-Quran brings points from there, so we will quote from Ma'arif al-Quran. If we don't get to the original one, we take from here, because he has that tafsir in front of him. And Imam Razi brings very nice, discussions with philosophy. He was a man of falsafa, theology. So he used to talk in a rational way. Maybe if today's atheists, were there, and Imam Fakhruddin Razi rahmatullahi could talk to them and explain to them in their own language. Ghazali has done that to a great degree, but Ghazali was before Razi. Ghazali died in 505, whereas Razi died in 606. So Ghazali was before, and he dealt with the philosophers. Fakhruddin Razi came, he also dealt with the philosophers. And alhamdulillah, they, wiped them out. The philosophers had no leg to stand on after Fakhruddin Razi and Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi. So these Akabir have done a great work in the field of ilmul kalam or aqaid as well. Established our aqaid, firmly and proved them. So Tafsir Kabir of Razi has beautiful, subtle points in there. We will go across them when we come. Like for example, when it comes to proving Allah's wujud, existence of God. Imam Fakhruddin Razi is the one who brought the quotes from Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Imam Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. That what is your proof that God exists? So Imam Abu Hanifa gave this proof. Imam Shafi gave this proof. Imam Malik gave this proof. It was quoted by Ibn Kathir in his tafsir. We'll go over it when we come on. Ya ayyuhan nas, u'budu rabbakum, alladhi khalaqakum, walladhina min qablikum, la'allakum tattaqun. Over there, he's quoted it. We'll go over there when we get there, inshallah. So, Tafsir Kabir of Imam Razi is very good, and our ulama have used it. And this comment that فِيهِ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا التَّفْسِيرِ is far from truth. Hazrat Maulana Yusuf bin Nuri rahmatullah is reported to have said that this is not true. Tafsir Razi has many beautiful points which clarify and explain Quran, especially with regards to connection of verses. Sometimes he brings a very nice, beautiful summary at the beginning and then summarizes what is coming in the future verses. You read that summary and then you go and you understand each verse as it goes on. So Razi has done that to a great extent. So his tafsir is much of it is based on rational. So you won't find many ahadith or athar in there. He talks from the rational and logical point of view. This is Tafsir Fakhruddin al-Razi rahmatullahi alayhi. Then we move on to number 6, al-Bahr al-Muhit. This was written by Allama Abu Hayyan al-Gharnati al-Andalusi. Again, al-Andalusi. Andalusi means Spain. Died 754 after Hijrah. When was Qurtubi? 774. And Abu Hayyan Gharnati is in 754. No, sorry. Qurtubi died in 671. So Qurtubi 671 and Abu Hayyan al-Gharnati al-Andalusi 754. So he's after Qurtubi, who was a master of syntax and rhetoric, meaning sarf and balaghat, in addition to other Islamic fields of learning. As a result of this, his own tafsir is soaked in syntax and rhetoric. He places special stress on investigating into the words of every verse, the differences in structures, and on points of eloquence and meaning, fasahat and balaghat. So Tafsir al-Bahr al-Muhit of Abu Hayyan is also used. I think Mufti Saab is mentioning here those tafasir which were used by his father, Hazrat Mufti Shafi Saab, and he always had them in front of him. Ahkam al-Qur'an by al-Jassas. Number 7. This was written by Imam Abu Bakr al-Jassas Razi, died 370 Hijrah. So he is one of the earlier Mufassirin. So he would come after Ibn Jarir Tabari, who died in 310. So Jassas Razi died in 370, who occupies a distinguished place among the Hanafi jurists. Meaning he was Hanafi, Abu Bakr al-Jassas al-Razi, and he has a high position among Hanafi fuqaha. He's written some book about fiqhi masail as well. And in this tafsir of Ahkam al-Quran, he only focuses on ahkam derived from Quran. He doesn't do tafsir of the whole Quran. He only does tafsir of those verses in which there is some hukm and ruling and command and instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it's called Ahkam al-Quran by Jassas al-Razi. The deduction of juristic injunctions and rulings from the noble Quran is the subject of this book. Instead of explaining verses in serial continuity, he has taken up the juristic details as called for by verses which consist of juristic injunctions. Several other books have also been written on this subject, but this book enjoys a prominent place among those. Meaning other people have also written books on Ahkamul Quran, but this one is takes a high position among them because it's very old and it's in the 370 after Hijrah. Tafsir al-Manthur. This was written by Allama Jalaluddin Suyuti, died 910 Hijrah. 910 after Hijrah. Some said 909 after Hijrah. Its full name is al-Manthur fi Tafsir bil-Ma'thur. Here Allama Suyuti has tried to collect all narrations about the tafsirs of Quran he was able to find. Several hadith scholars such as Hafiz Ibn Jarir, Imam Baghawi, Ibn Mardawai, Ibn Hibban, Ibn Majah, and others had already worked in this area on their own. Allama Suyuti has assembled narrations presented by all of them in this book. But rather than refer to complete chain of authorities along with narrations, he has found it sufficient to simply name the particular author who has presented the narration under his authority, so that if needed, one could go back to the world and investigate into the ultimate authority. Since his purpose was to put together a mass of narrations, as a result of which all sorts of narrations, sound and weak, have found their way into his book. Hence, every narration allowed entry by him cannot be considered reliable without investigation into its authority. There are occasions when Allama Suyuti does indicate with each narration the degree of its authority as well. But as he is known to be fairly easygoing in respect of hadith critic, it is still difficult to fully rely on that too. Ad-Durr al-Manthur of Allama Suyuti. It's in 6 volumes, and he brings everything in there. So you can't take his riwayat on face value. Where he quotes from, if the hawala reference is from, let's say, Bukhari, Muslim, Sahih Sitta, Bismillah, aankh ban karo, le lo, aage chalo. But if it's from others like Ibn Mardawai or some other place, you have to check the sanad out. Do you remember last week I mentioned Tafsir of Maraj al-Bahraini al-Taqiyan, Ali and Fatima, yakhruju minhum al-Lu'lu wal-Marjan, Hassan Hussain. That tafsir is quoted by Suyuti in Durr al-Manthur from Ibn Mardawai. But it is extremely weak. It's not used by anyone. Not Ibn Kathir, not Qurtubi, no one has used that. So we will disregard it. No, we will take the famous tafsir, which is narrated by all, that Maraj al-Bahrain, it means the 2 oceans. And yakhruju minhum al-lu'lu wal-marjan, the pearls and the diamonds are what come out of the shells from the ocean. So that is the real meaning, and that is what Allah is trying to say. So these types of narrations which are weak have found their place in the tafsir of Durr al-Manthur. So ulama have to be careful in taking riwayat from Durr al-Manthur. This is where you need to be a muhaddith to understand where he's coming from and whether they quote this or not. You know, we have Tafsir al-Khazin. Hazrat has not mentioned it over here. This is Tafsir al-Khazin. And now, Khazin is a Sufi. And on the Hashiyah of this is Madarik al-Tanzil of Nasafi. So, Madarik al-Tanzil explains the meaning of Qur'an beautifully in short wordings. And Khazin in his tafsir goes into great details. But Khazin, he quotes, all types of riwayat, even sometimes Israeli riwayat. Because, some of the Sahaba used to take some Israeli riwayat from those members of the Jewish community who had embraced Islam. So they would listen to them and they would quote. And Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said, "Hadithu an bani Israel wala haraj." If there is no harm in quoting from them, then you are allowed to quote from them. So Sahaba used to take from them, thinking that this is okay. But those Israeli riwayat have also found way in this tafsir. Ibn Kathir, he avoids Israeli riwayat. Khazin, he brings all those riwayat. So when I normally quote from Khazin, I have to check it out. Is this hadith in other places as well, or is this among Israeliyat? If it's among Israeliyat, I just leave it out. I don't even narrate it to the general public, because the general public will not understand that this is Israeli and from the Israelites, and there might be something dodgy in there. Sahaba just quote hadith for the sake of narrating it. And those who have understanding, they will understand what is right, what is wrong, because there might be 10, 20, 30, 40% correct in there. The other part might be milawat and mixture in there. So the alim will understand, but general public might not understand. So we have to sieve through these riwayat and just quote what is reliable. Khazin died in the year 725 after Hijrah, and Madarik al-Tanzil Nasafi died in the year 701 after Hijrah. So these are Mufassirin. Finally, last 2 tafsir left. Tafsir Mazhari. This was written by Qazi Sanaullah Panipati Rahmatullahi alayhi, died 1225 after Hijrah. He has named this tafsir as Tafsir al-Mazhari, after the name of his spiritual master, Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Dehlavi Rahmatullahi alayhi. This tafsir is very simple and clear and extremely useful to locate brief explanations of Quranic verses. Along with the elucidation of Quranic words, he has also taken up related narrations in ample details, and in doing so, he has made an effort to accept narrations after much more scrutiny as compared with other commentaries. Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullah. Have you heard his name? Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullah alayhi. He was from the era of Hazrat Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlavi Rahmatullah alayhi. And he was among the, family of the Mughals. So he was of a Shahi Mizaj, royal mentality. But because of his attachment to Sufism, he became one of the great Sufis and Awliyaullah of his time. But the nature of Shahi Mizaj, it doesn't fade away. The royal mentality. So Hazrat was of very nafis tabiyat, very, particular in everything. Any small thing would irritate him, he would get a headache. It is quoted in his biographies that his khadim was Hazrat Shah Ghulam Ali Sahib. So he was his attendant. And once Hazrat asked for some water, he gave water. And then he put the glass in its place. And Hazrat said, oh, how did you put the glass? It's tilted. You should put the glass straight. You've given me a headache. Once someone brought some almonds, badam for Hazrat. So Hazrat said, Ghulam Ali, idhar aao, badam khao. Haan Hazrat. And he stretched his hand. Oh, badam ko yung haath mein, ko kagaz lao. You can't take almonds in your hand. Bring some paper. So he went and searched for some paper, brought paper. Hazrat put few badams in there, nice roasted badam. So Shah Ghulam Ali Sahib, he just folded it like, ye kya kar diya Ghulam Ali? Aise fold karte hain. How are you folding it like this? Bring it here. And I said, you have folded like this and like this and like that. And I said, theek hua. So Hazrat was of very nafis tabiyat, very particular in everything, but a great wali of Allah. And he died in a battlefield as a shaheed, fighting with the enemies. Allah gave him shahada. So Hazrat Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullah alayhi, very big buzurg. Qazi Sanaullah Panipati Rahmatullah alayhi was his murid and disciple. And with Hazrat's mashwara, he wrote the tafsir, and he did not name it after himself, he named it after his shaykh, and he named it Tafsir Tafsir Mazhari. Tafsir Mazhari on the instruction of my shaykh, and because of his hidayat and tawajjuh, I was able to write this tafsir. So this is very nice tafsir, and Hazrat Mirza Sahab, Hazrat Qazi Sanaullah Panipati Sahab Rahmatullah alayhi brings authentic riwayat, and his tafsir is very simple, easy to understand. Mufti Shafi Sahab very often quotes from Tafsir Mazhari, that this riwayat is taken from Tafsir Mazhari. So this is Tafsir Mazhari. Finally, last but not least over here is Ruh al-Ma'ani. Tafsir Ruh al-Ma'ani. The name of this Tafsir Ruh al-Ma'ani fi Tafsir al-Qur'an al-Azim was Sab' al-Masani, and it is written by Allama Mahmud Alusi al-Baghdadi, died 1270 after Hijrah, the famous scholar of the last period of Baghdad, and comprises of 30 volumes. He has made his best possible effort to make this tafsir comprehensive. There are exhaustive discussions on language, syntax, letters, style, and on jurisprudence, articles of faith, scholastics, philosophy, astronomy, mysticism, and related narratives of traditions. He has made an attempt to leave no intellectual aspect pertaining to a verse unexplained. In the case of hadith narratives as well, the author of this work has been more cautious as compared to other commentators. From this angle, this is a very comprehensive commentary, and no future venture in connection with the tafsir of Qur'an can now afford to ignore its help. Ruhul Ma'ani of Allama Alusi Baghdadi Rahmatullahi alayhi. Hazrat Maulana Mufti Ashiq Ilahi Balanshahri in his Anwarul Bayan quotes a lot from Ruhul Ma'ani. And it's got all topics in there which Hazrat has mentioned. Very comprehensive, large tafsir. And we are doing our takhassus course. So Mufti Ayyub Sahab, the lecturer, he was mentioning that rather than teaching Tafsir Ibn Kathir to our takhassus students, we would teach to Ruh al-Ma'ani, because it's got so much detailed tafsir in there that the students will love it. But Tafsir Ibn Kathir is easy to understand, but that is a bit complicated. So he said we will teach that. This is the beauty of Ruh al-Ma'ani. So we need everything, all topics. these are some tafasir in Arabic which Hazrat has mentioned. Then we have tafasir in Urdu and in English. In Urdu, Ma'ariful Qur'an of Mufti Shafi Saab, Rahmatullahi Ali, the father of Mufti Taqi Usmani Saab. And same name, Ma'ariful Qur'an by Maulana Idris Kandalwi, Rahmatullahi Ali. The difference between them is Maulana Idris Kandalwi, Rahmatullahi Ali, started writing his tafsir first, and Mufti Shafi Saab started after him. But Mufti Shafi Saab completed it first, and Maulana Idris Kandalwi went on and he wrote until the end of Surah As-Saffat, and then from Surah As-Sad, his son Maulana Muhammad Malik Saab completed it. Now both tafasir have their own merits. Mufti Shafi Saab's Tafsir Ma'ariful Qur'an has beautiful discussions in it, and it's been translated in English as well. And since Mufti Shafi Saab is a Mufti, he talks a lot about Masail, and he goes into very detailed discussion of Masail, Masla Masail. And Hazrat Maulana Idris Kandalwi Rahmatullahi Alayhi is a Muhaddith, Mufassir, and a Muarrikh, and a Sirat Nighar, writer of Sirah. So he goes into lots of other discussions. So his tafsir has a unique angle to it. He talks about the other firaq-e batila and addresses them and refutes their claims. And he brings very nice topics, subjects, discussion, which we will cover while we go along, inshallah. And I mostly benefit from Maulana Idris Kandalwi's tafsir. And Maulana Mufti Shafi Saab will take from there as well, because that's in English. It might be a lot of help when doing tafsir in English, and Maulana Idris Kandalwi is not available in English. Another tafsir is Anwarul Bayan of Hazrat Maulana Mufti Ashiq Ilahi Balan Shahri. It is very easy. It's for general public. If you buy it, it'll be good for you. It's about 10 volumes, might be a bit expensive, but you should have that in your house because it's easy to understand. It's for general public, and its English is simple as well. The translation is simple, and the tafsir and commentary is simple to understand as well. So we will be benefiting from that as well, inshallah. Another tafsir is Ma'alimul Irfan or Sufi Abdul Hamid Suwati, Rahmatullahi alayh. He also talks about some firaq-e batila, where the firaq-e batila like Qadiani, Shia, or maybe others, little bit, Barelvis or Salafis. He talks about them and explains our stance with regards to the tafsir in there as well. So that is very beneficial as well. But that was in the form of, discourses, bayanat, and it was transcribed. So it's not a written tafsir, it's only a collection of bayanat. Along with this, in English, we have Tafsirul Majidi. Hazrat Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi Rahmatullahi alayh. His story is ajib, amazing. He is from Daryabad, near Lucknow. And he was from a wealthy family. He had the preliminary education, studied Quran, Hadith, whatever. And then he went to college, university. And in the college, university, he was influenced by the environment and he went off track. And there was a period in his life when he declared himself nothing. When he was transferred from one university to the other, and he filled in the form, in the question was religion, he left it blank. So his father was very worried about him. He was scared that Abdul Majid has left Islam. And he tried his best, but Maulana Abdul Majid Saab was not returning. His father went for Hajj. And Maulana Abdul Majid Saab writes in his autobiography that my father died in Hajj. When the news came that he's died in Makkah and he's buried there, I had no feelings. So what? He's gone. He left he lived his life. He's gone. So I had no feelings even on the death of my own father. I was just busy into whatever I was doing. But later on, when Hazrat Maulana did Tawbah, he said, one of those sathis in the group, in the kafla, said that his father's only concern and dua throughout the whole journey was Abdul Majid. He was holding on to the khilaf of Kaaba and crying, Oh Allah, mere Abdul Majid ko hidayat de. Oh Allah, mere Abdul Majid ko hidayat de. Oh Allah, mere Abdul Majid ko hidayat de. This is what to do. If our children go astray, off track, they leave Islam, and stay calm, try to explain, understand, and make lots of du'as for them. Pray special salatul hajat for them. Cry in front of Allah. Because we can't, these days, they come up with so many shukuk, shubuhat, doubts, suspicions. We have to just give in. We don't know how to talk to them. So it is only Allah who can open up their hearts. So we make dua, Allah gives them hidayat. So Hazrat Maulana's father made lots of du'as, and his du'as were accepted. Maulana Abdul Majid Sahib writes in his autobiography that the first, break that put on me was, that stopped me was a book on Buddhism. Because I was in uni, I was fond of reading, pastime was reading. So he said, someone gave me a book on Buddhism. So I started reading that book. And I read the whole book from cover to cover. And it made me realize that, this book is all about spirituality. Spirituality. Now, I, in the college uni, was brought up to think that there is no spirituality. There is only material world. This world is only material world. You work, you eat, you drink, you enjoy your life, you play, you die, your life is finished. When you go down under the grave, there's nothing there. No God, nothing, no resurrection, no life after death. You just enjoy your life over here, earn as much money as you can, and live as luxurious life as you can live. This is what I was, this was my mentality. And I totally ignored the spiritual side of human being. I only focused on the material side, physical side, body. We have to look after our body. Like today, youngsters, they go to the gym, exercise, eat and this and that, and enjoy. That's it. Nothing, no life after death. Chill out. So Hazrat Maulana says, when I read that Buddhist book, I was just shocked, struck. And I thought, there is spiritual side as well. But there was some flaw in there. The Buddhists were only focusing on spiritual side, nothing on material side. They said the spirituality is the main thing. You shouldn't eat any good food, you shouldn't drink any good food, good drinks, you shouldn't sleep, you shouldn't enjoy yourself, you shouldn't have, get married, you shouldn't enjoy your luxury, pleasure, anything. Just, spiritual side, just always busy in spirituality. And to reach that highest peak of spirituality, you have to give up your life. And this is why you will see Buddhists, lying on beds of nails. And you will see Buddhists going through real hardships. I read one article wherein this Buddhist, he sits in the middle of the road on a roundabout or somewhere, and he pours petrol over himself and tortures himself, burns to death without moving. He feels that if I move, then my spirituality will be affected. I should burn myself, and let alone screaming, I shouldn't move either. They said now he's reached the pinnacle of the spirituality. So this was their belief with regard that this is what Buddhism teaches, that this is how your spirituality should be enhanced. So Hazrat says, I read that book, and I was, the brakes were put on, I was stopped, halted. But now I'm still confused between the two. Then someone gave me an English translation of the Qur'an. So I started reading the English translation of Qur'an. And as I read the Qur'an and moved on, Allahu Akbar, Qur'an merged both things. Material side as well, spiritual side as well, physical side as well, and ruhaniyat, spiritual side as well. So we have our jismaniyat, maddiyat, and we have our ruhaniyat. And we have to merge between both. Quran taught us that we have to eat, drink, sleep, look after our bodies, take care of ourselves, And Quran taught us that there are certain things we need to do for our spiritual side. We have to pray namaz, we have to keep roza, we have to give zakat. Namaz is to show our dutifulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Roza is to get rid of the greed from us, and the hirs of food and drinks, and control our desires. Zakat is to remove the love of wealth from ourselves, and this is the spiritual side of it. Hajj is to go to the house of Allah, go around the house of Allah and show your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the aims of the Islamic ahkam. And halal, haram, you can't eat pork, you can't drink wine, alcohol, because there is spiritual harms in there as well. And spiritual harms of pork is that you will bring in those characteristics in you which that swine has. Alcohol, you drink it, and the intoxicants will intoxicate your mind, and it will affect your spirituality. This is why these things are haram. Interest is haram because it affects your spirituality as well. Gambling is haram, and this is haram, that is haram. All haram things affect your spirituality. That's why Allah made them haram. So he said, now I realize that Quran has merged both things. Then I did my tawbah. I repented. Tawbah, astaghfirullah. I read my kalma again. And Hazrat then thought of, his own rectification. I need to do my islah. And for islah, I need to get bayat. So he thought, who is the biggest sheikh of the time? And there were two big sheikhs at the time. Hazrat Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani rahmatullahi alayhi and Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi. So he traveled from Lucknow to Delhi, and Hazrat Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani rahmatullahi alayhi was there at the time in the daftar and office of al-Jam'iyyat. So he arrived and he met Hazrat Madani and he put forward his request. Hazrat, I want to do bayat with you. And Hazrat said, I am a musafir man. One day I am here, next day I am there. You will not benefit from me. Go to Thana Bhavan, Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, get bayat to him. He is in one place, a murids come to him, he does their islah, you will benefit from him. So he said, okay Hazrat, no problem, as you say. So he went to Thana Bhavan, and Hazrat Thanvi said, get bayat to Hazrat Madani. And he said, Hazrat, I went there, but he sent me to you. So Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi then took him on as murid. And Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi kept him there for a few days. And day by day, slowly, his islah of nafs was done. And then Hazrat Thanvi told him that you have a good command on English, you have good knowledge of the other scriptures as well. It would be nice if you wrote a tafsir in which you merge Qur'an and you explain what the other books say as well, Tawrat and Jabur and Injil and Bible. You study them as well, and then you write tafsir. So he wrote two tafsirs, one in Urdu and one in English. So both are available. So we have the English tafsir, and I use his translation, and I use his tafsir as well. And his translation is a little bit old, but it seems to be the most accurate one. Lafzi translation. We don't want just meaning of what the ayat is trying to say. We want the accurate translation. So if you want accurate translation, then Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi's translation seems to be the most accurate one. So I will be using his translation as we go on with the tafsir, inshallah. He wrote it in 4 volumes. He brought in quotes from Bible as well, Torah as well, and from the other scriptures as well, and from the books of recent historians and Orientalists and English writers as well. So it's a very nice tafsir. So we will go through that as well and quote from there as well. So these are some tafasir of Urdu and some of English, Ma'arif al-Quran English, Anwar al-Bayan in English, Tafsir Majidi in English. There will be others as well, but we will not be touching them. There is Tafsir of Abu al-Ala Maududi, Tafhim al-Quran. We have it there in the library, but I don't go through it. And there is also Tafsir of Sayyid Qutb fi Zilal al-Quran, translated in English as well. I don't have it, and I don't go through it either. These are our reliable mufassirin, our akabir, our ulama, our mashayikh. We know them to be quoting, accurate message and explaining the Quran Sharif in the proper way. That's why we will be quoting from there, inshallah. So This is how the introduction of Mufti Taqi Saab over here comes to a close and Tafsir starts. But we still have one topic left, and that topic is Sab'atu Ahruf, 7 dialects of reading the Quran. We have taken too much of your time. Inshallah, we'll cover it next week, and then we'll start Tafsir of Quran, okay? So this one subject is left. I want to explain to you why you can read Quran in 7 ways and what is the meaning of 7 ways. Explain that a little bit, because sometimes, people who attack the Quran, they try to confuse people, and they say, why is this Quran read like this and read like that? So a person who doesn't know, he gets confused. I'll explain to you what the 7 dialects mean and how it's recited and why it was recited like that, the reasons for that. We'll go through that, and then inshallah we will start the tafsir. Okay, inshallah. Durood Sharif padh lo, dua kar le. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma lakal hamdu wa lakal shukr. Allahumma la nuhsi sana'an alayk, anta kama athnayta ala nafsik. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وأدخلنا الجنة بشفاعة القرآن. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب همومنا وغمومنا وكروبنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التفسير والتأويل یا ارحم الراحمین. محض اپنے فضل اور کرم سے ہم سب کی مغفرت فرما دیجیے، پوری امت کی مغفرت فرما دیجیے، پوری امت پر رحم کرم فرما دیجیے. آپ کا شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں کہ آپ نے اپنی مہربانی سے یہاں بیٹھنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائی، قرآن پاک کی تفسیر سننے کا شوق عطا فرمایا. یا اللہ، ابھی جو کچھ ہم نے پڑھا اس کو ہمارے ذہن میں بٹھائیے، اور ان مفسرین کے جن کی ہم نے نام لیے، ان سب کی قبروں پر اپنی خاص رحمتوں کی بارشیں برسائیے، اور سب کو ان کی محنتوں کا بہترین بدلہ جزائے خیر عطا فرمائیے. یا اللہ، ان کی درجات اعلیٰ علیین میں، صدیقین میں بلند سے بلند تر فرمائیے. اور یا اللہ، ہمیں ان کی تفاسیر سے استفادہ کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے، اور قرآن پاک کو سمجھنے اور سمجھانے، پڑھنے اور پڑھانے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. قرآن پاک کے علوم کی نشر و اشاعت کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے، اور قرآن پاک کے میسیج پر عمل کرنا ہمارے لیے آسان فرمائیے. اللہ، رمضان کا مبارک مہینہ سامنے ہے، ہمیں اس کے لیے روحانی طور پر ریڈی ہو جانے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. رمضان کی باغ و بہار ہم کو نصیب فرمائیے، صحت اور عافیت، تندرستی اور سلامتی ہم کو نصیب فرمائیے. یا اللہ، رمضان کی تراویح، رمضان کی عبادات ہمارے لیے آسان فرمائیے، ہماری رمضان خراب ہونے سے محفوظ فرمائیے، لاک ڈاؤن سے حفاظت فرمائیے، تراویح بند ہو جانے سے حفاظت فرمائیے. یا اللہ، اس وقت میٹنگ لگی ہوئی ہے یا اللہ ریلیجس والوں کی، انٹرفیتھ والوں کی، اور ورشپ پلیسوں کے بارے میں بحث ہو رہی ہے، اس میں کوئی خیر نکال دیجیے. یا اللہ، اس میں کوئی خیر کا پہلو نکالیے، اور یا اللہ شر سے بچائیے. حکومت کی بھی رہنمائی فرمائیے، اور یا اللہ مساجد پر، پلیسز آف ورشپ پر سختی کرنے سے حفاظت فرمائیے، اور نرمی سے پیش آنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. ہماری مساجد اور عبادت گاہوں کو کھلا رکھیے، ہمیں عبادت کرنے کی توفیق بھی عطا فرمائیے، اور عبادت کرنا آسان بھی فرمائیے، اور عبادت کو قبول بھی فرمائیے، اور دنیا بھر میں یا اللہ رمضان خراب ہونے سے محفوظ فرمائیے. یا اللہ، کورونا کے بہانے سے ہماری مساجد کے ویران ہونے سے ہمیں محفوظ فرمائیے. حرم شریف ویران ہو گیا، یا اللہ حرم شریف ویران ہو گیا، بیت اللہ شریف رو رہا ہے معتمرین اور حجاج اور زائرین کے لیے، روضہ رسول خالی ہے، ویران ہے. یا اللہ، کھلوا دیجیے حرمین شریفین کو، ہمارے لیے وہاں پہنچنا آسان فرمائیے. یا اللہ، وہاں والوں کو کچھ عقل اور سمجھ عطا فرمائیے، بیماریوں سے بچائیے، اور بیماری کے خوف سے بھی بچائیے، اور بیماری کا جو ان کے دماغ پر یا اللہ ان پر سوار ہو چکا ہے اس کو ختم فرمائیے، سمجھ عطا فرمائیے، اور بیماری سے بھی بچائیے، اور بیماری کے ریپریکشن اور اس کے نتائج اور برے ایفیکٹ سے بھی حفاظت فرمائیے. ہماری حفاظت فرمائیے، ہمارے مسلیوں کی حفاظت فرمائیے. فرمائیے، ہمارے پڑھنے والے بچوں کی اور پڑھانے والے استادوں اور استانیوں کی حفاظت فرمائیے، اللہ ہم سے محبت رکھنے والوں کی حفاظت فرمائیے، ہماری تمام مساجد، مدارس، مراکز تبلیغیہ، خانقاہ، علماء صلحاء، مشائخ اللہ کی حفاظت فرمائیے، ہماری ٹوٹی پھوٹی دعائیں سن لیجیے کہ اللہ ہر طرح کی خیر و برکت سے ہم سب کو مالا مال فرمائیے، ہر قسم کے شرور، فتنوں، بلاؤں، مصیبتوں، بیماریوں، پرابلم، آفتوں سے ہم سب کی حفاظت فرمائیے۔ ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك انت التواب الرحيم، وصلی اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه اجمعين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين۔